A quick update here. We have everything put back together and running, but I just wanted to note a modification that is very common with these on Megasquirt is the removal of the mass airflow sensor, or actually it's a vane airflow sensor. It has a movement in there, and it's physically restrictive. You can't change the width of it. So without it, the only thing that Megasquirt grabs from it is the temperature, and so we've installed a GM style intake air temperature sensor that is just wired directly to the plug for the VAF. So that's just run right in here. Additionally, this is where my service loop for the O2 sensor is. Basically, the connector is kind of in between here and the sensor itself. So when I need to change it, I'll just undo the service loop, pull it down, disconnect it, replace the sensor, and pull it back up, put the service loop back up here. Unlike many other cars, the ECU is actually inside under the radio, so there's a lot of fiddly stuff. I actually had to have my wife get in here and crawl down underneath the dash and get the wires over. You can actually see here. Let me get in the car. Here's the sensor. However, we're having some trouble with it. Let me open the garage door and I'll show you what's up. So as part of all this, there was also a great deal of making sure that the exhaust was sealed. So not only for the O2 sensor, but because it was stupid loud in here. So, and I also fixed the shifter bushings, and now this thing is tight. So, all right. This is actually wired to this power here, so it's on with the key. Let's see, I'm trying to get this. Let me see. You know, I can move the camera. You guys can watch it. I don't need to. All right. So. Certainly does this all right. And that's what it's doing. It's just sitting there doing the just maxing out the voltage almost immediately. And I believe we were reading on Amazon, there's a lot of instances where this model did not come with a true Bosch sensor. And I believe that's the case. If you look back at my prior video, you'll see that the sensor is not. It looks silver, and it's not what all the pictures of a real Bosch sensor look like. Where it almost looks like they've been tested. This one looked as if it had never been tested, which, if you have, they claim there is a resistor that is laser calibrated for the sensor itself, but you've never turned it on. I don't understand how that works, how you can calibrate something that's never been on. That's what it looks like anyway. It looks clean and silver. In any case, it never was damaged. It never hit the floor. I have no idea why this sensor isn't working, but I do believe it is just the sensor, as opposed to the wiring. That gauge pod receives positive, negative, and outputs an analog signal. As far as the actual wiring that you yourself do, the other wires are straight wired from the sensor to the gauge pod. If the gauge pod is bad, I don't know what it would look like, but it just, because it does read it for a moment, and that's the trick. I think that's the trick. So the fact that it starts at 14.7 and then escalates from there tells me that it's the warm-up cycle is actually altering the result. That the standard result, 14.7, is there. That gives credence to the gauge and blames the sensor itself. So I've got another sensor coming. We'll see if that's it. Unfortunately, I don't really want to pull it out of here. I don't want to pull everything out to return it to Amazon because it's all wired in. I'm prepared to replace the sensor. I mean, I took those precautions when I built, when I put this system in. So it's a little annoying. Anyway, that's an update.